Hi everybody, this is Blossom, and today I want to do a walkthrough of the Hobbit Tarot. I just got this recently, and yeah, the last time I checked there weren't any videos about it, or not a whole walkthrough or whatever, so I thought I'm going to do that. So let's have a look at the cards. Or before we start with the cards, maybe I show you the little white book that comes with it. So when you get this tarot, this is the little white book, and it's just in English. So there are not different languages. So that's why you have a bit more information. And I think it's more or less the same amount of information for the minor arcana and the major arcana. So you see here, for example, the Empress. Here you have a bit of a description of what you see in the card. Here you have the divinatory meaning and also a reversed meaning. Sometimes that's a bit shorter, sometimes a bit longer, it depends. And at the end, you have a few spreads. Here's the Ring of Gollum spread, Middle Earth spreads, the Sword of Aragon spread, the Arkenstone spread, and yeah, that's it. And then it talks a bit about the artist. In this case, oh, I completely forgot that. So in this case, it is Peter Prakovnik, sorry when I pronounce that wrong. He did already the Lord of the Rings tarot together with Terry Donaldson. They worked together on the Lord of the Rings tarot, and Terry Donaldson is a professional tarot reader. And it is published by US Game Systems. It is not a very expensive deck, it's quite cheap. I got it for like 10 euros. Which is maybe, good question, I don't know, in dollars, maybe 12, something around that. Yeah, let's have a look at the cards now. So here we have the first card, just to show you, just a bit of information. Here's the back of the cards. I think that's really nice, really pretty. It's not reversible because of the signature here. That's all right. I don't mind, but I just want to point that out. Then we start with the first card, the Fool. And this is a perfect Fool card with Bilbo, who is heading out for his adventure. Now, when I go through these cards, I really want you to know this is a deck really for fans of the Hobbit book. Again, when you have just seen the movies, you may get confused because there are a few differences. So really this is based on the book. And I wouldn't say it is a beginner tarot deck because sometimes the meanings and the images, it's a bit of a stretch, to be fully honest. Then we have the Magician with Gandalf, and he looks a bit bored, and it says here in the guidebook, Gandalf is sitting on a rock, earth, beside a lake, water, holding his staff in his arms, fire, at his feet a lunar sickle, air. He is deep in thought, perhaps gaining an insight into the future. His right forefinger points lazily towards the sphere, creating a vortex there, and thus influencing events far away in the real world of action. Energy follows thought. Behind him a glorious full moon arises, representing completion. And it's a bit more in the book. And then for the divinatory meaning, put your message across to a wider audience, concentrate on an objective to achieve your potential. This card is saying that it's time to use your initiative to communicate and use your powers of persuasion. and so on. I won't read everything, but then you get a little bit of an idea. Then we have the High Priestess. So we still have the symbols, you know, with the lunar sickle, and then the pillars, and in the middle we have the book, and on the left side it says the lost key to the Book of Dane, and on the right page it says Lord of the Misty Mountain. Then this is really interesting for the Empress card. Let me tell you about it. So Bilbo and Gandalf are united in the deepest bond of spiritual love with their fellow companions on this great quest. Gandalf points with the forefinger of his right hand, showing us the direction the companions are to take. We are here in this place reminded of tremendous power of spiritual and earthly love, which has motivated life itself and expressed itself in innumerable forms. And then for the divinatory meaning it says a harmony, creativity, sensual pleasures and abundance. In a spread, it shows that now is the time to encourage greater harmony and love in your life. This card has a connection with the arts, fertility, prosperity and gain. If it shows another, this person will be important in assisting you towards these goals. It can also show the role of mothering, either literally or symbolically. Reversed, it shows greed, sensuality and possessiveness. So, and you, no title, you wouldn't guess that is the Empress card. Then we have the Emperor with the Elf King. Then the Hierophant, again with Gandalf. Then the Lovers, and those are Bungo Baggins and Belladonna Took, Bilbo's parents. Then the next card, the Chariot, and he also writes here, no physical chariot here, but rather the combined power of the companions as they ride across the open country on their way to the lonely mountain. A long and hard time it has been on this journey, and they are still far from finding our treasure. In the background, but looming ever closer, lonely mountain is visible. How forbidding and desolate it looks. Yeah. Then we have Strength with Thorin Oakenshield, leader of the companions. Then Beorn as the Hermit. I think Beorn somehow really fits for the Hermit. Maybe not every aspect, you know, but he is definitely a loner. So in this aspect it really fits, and I like it. Then we have the Wheel of Fortune, where Bilbo and Gollum, having met by the pool of water, engage in their riddle contest. I do like that. I never like the Golems that he draws. It's just not really my thing. Then we have Justice, where Bilbo hands over the Arkenstone to Bard and the Elven King in order to avert the deadlock between the besiegers, Thorin Oakenshield and his companions. And yet we don't see Bard and the Elven King, so he describes a card, the image that is actually not really present. But we get the Justice card clearly because of the scales. So and we have the sword, so that's good. Then we have the Hanged Man, Gollum again. And again, I don't like this Gollum so much. Then we have Death. I really like this one. I think it's really beautiful, this Death card. And it's about the great Goblin King, who was the leader of the goblins in the Misty Mountains, who captured the companions as they took shelter in a cave, and so on. I cannot read everything. I would like to, but... And then this is again where I was like, what? So Temperance, and then we see Bulk. And I have to read it again. Let's read it together to make sense of it. Bolg was the leader of the goblin army at the Battle of the Five Armies. Bolg's father was killed by Dane I, Ironfoot. His hatred of the dwarves was rekindled when the great goblin was killed during an encounter with Thorin Oakenshield and his companions. With a host of wargs and a cloud of bats, Bolg gathered an army throughout the Misty Mountains. At the Lonely Mountain, Bolg led his army into battle against the men, dwarves and elves. Thorin Oakenshield tried to break through Bolg's bodyguard but was unable to. In trying, he suffered terrible wounds and died shortly afterwards. In the battle, the eagles then arrived, followed by Beorn in the shape of a black bear. Beorn killed Bolg and the goblins were defeated. And then for the divinatory meaning it says, looking into the past in order to understand the present, moderation, healing, unifying, opposing trends. In a reading, this card tells you that by diluting down your indulgence and exercising temperance, you will achieve the best from a situation. Yeah, still, I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. Then we have the devil, Smaug, who attacks Lake Town. Then we have the tower, who is also Smaug. It makes sense, you know. Then we have the star, the moon with Gollum again, who actually hates the moon. Old Whiteface, he called it. And he hates it almost as much as he hated the sun, Old Yellowface. Then we have the sun card. It says in the book that we see Mirkwood in the distance. Then Judgment. And there we see the Battle of the Five Armies. And then the world again with Smaug. So, whoopsie, those were the major arcanas. Let's go into the minors and see what that will tell us. So, as I said already, sometimes it's a bit of a stretch to get the meanings out of just the images. And, you know, I started working now on a personal Lord of the Rings tarot. It may take 10 years because I am not an artist, I am not good, and it's a lot of work for me to do so. But even though I like it, so there's no question, so there was actually no question of getting it, you know, because I am a big fan, and if it's just for collection, even if I'm not a collector in general, but you know, this is for my geek heart, not so much for my tarot heart. All right, so let's go into the Ace of Swords, or into the swords with the Ace, and this is Goblin Cleaver or Orcrist, the sword that Thorin has later. Then we have the Two of Swords with Biter and Sting. And he writes about the swords and how they found it, but it doesn't really, you know, it doesn't go that much into the meaning. Then the Three of Swords. So what I mean by that, sorry, is that he writes, you know, you have the divinatory meaning, and I think it's well written, and I like it, but it does not actually make that much sense with the swords. Now here we have with the Three of Swords, we have Glamdring as well. So we have Sting, Glamdring and Orcrist. Then the Four of Swords, where I also thought, oh okay, so they are running. In the Four of Swords I don't want to see anybody running, but yeah, well, it's just how it describes how they escape from the stone trolls. But it still makes sense, but just image-wise, I would, you know, I would prefer stillness in the Four of Swords. Then we have Five of Swords, and you don't necessarily see in the image a conflict. And then it says, so we see two of our dwarven companions alerted to the approach of the spiders and attempting to escape. When we listen to the spider's speech, we are struck with amusement. Bilbo surprises himself in his situation by putting on his ring of invisibility and provoking the spider into chasing him. Then, using his sword's sting, he kills them. After the battle, he is amazed at himself and realizes that there is indeed much more to himself than even he supposed. Sorry, but why not putting that, you know, Bilbo with who is fighting against? Because this is just two dwarves. Yeah, it's not very clear. And then for the divinatory meaning for this card, the parting of the ways, hollow victory, giving up without a fight, acceptance of loss, feeling of failure. This card reminds us that the battle may not be lost yet. Better to pick up arms and keep fighting because the enemy is now laughing at our easy acceptance of defeat, and so on. Then we have the Six of Swords, where Bilbo escaping up a tree from the onrush of the wolves, the wargs, moving away from negativity, heading away from discord, leaving behind bad memories, people changing location or habits. Then the Seven of Swords is again something that image-wise I don't get. That is when our companions emerge from the tunnels and find themselves in the light. The dwarves immediately take stock of who is present. Gandalf counts and sees that Bilbo is present. The goblins come again and Bilbo is carried by Dory upon his shoulders. Then he falls off and he is left alone in the tunnels. The dwarves escape, but Bilbo is about to find the ring and also meet Gollum. Protect your boundaries, there's dishonesty. Possibly someone close is not all that he seems. So it doesn't make that much sense to me again. Eight of Swords. There we have Thorin, who is captured by the elves. Then the Nine of Swords, which is again some kind of scenery, but you really have to read then again the text to know what it actually means. Then we have the Ten of Swords. The Page of Swords, where Bilbo kills a spider. And for the divinatory meaning it says, forethought, don't rush into battle. This card indicates to research your plans, get your facts straight and communicate with your peers and co-workers. And then in a love aspect, this bodes well for affinity and a strong sense of togetherness. This card also points to an ability or need to look beneath the surface and so on. So I do like how he writes about it, but just, doesn't always fit. Knight of Swords is a warrior of Lake Town. Then we have the Queen of Swords. I think that's beautiful. A beautiful image. But a female warg calls out a shuddering cry for her pack. Where are they? Are they slain? After the battle of the 5 armies, we see now the grief and mourning of one of the female leaders of a warg pack. And then for the divinatory meaning, direct and to the point, frank, being upfront. This card alludes to the energy of a lively, intelligent person who holds considerable power for good or ill. Reversed, it can show a tendency to be fault-finding, overly critical and even self-critical. And the King of Swords with Thorin Oakenshield again. But he doesn't look like the previous Thorin Oakenshield, you know what I mean? So that would be good if they would at least look the same. Then we have the Ace of Wands with Gandalf. Yeah, Gandalf uses his firebolt throwing wand to good effect. And for the divinatory meaning, new inspiration or originality and a sense of adventure. This card encourages acting upon a new initiative and so on. Two of Wands with Bilbo and Bilbo and Gandalf hide from the wargs, up in the trees, away from them. Then we have the Three of Wands. Here we see Bilbo making his entrance into the Dragon's Mouth's treasure's lair. Then number 4. On their way to the lonely mountain, the companions rode right up the long lake and passed into the river running. Then number 5, seeking shelter from a storm. Then number 6, the great goblin king asked them what they have been doing in his territory. Thorin Oakenshield steps forward and explains that they were passing on their way to visit relatives on the other side of the mountain. And then one of the goblins' advisors pulls out the elven sword Orcrist, and so on. So I'm sorry, it takes too long. 7 of Wands, again a warg that we see here that has catched fire. Then we have the 8 of Wands, where we see that how the eagles come and rescue them from the wargs. Then we have, sorry, for some reason the camera has stopped. So then we have the 9 of Wands with a stone giant. So that's cool. I like that. Then the 10 of Wands with Smaug. Now I really like that he is often represented. I do like that. I do like my dragon. I love Smaug. So Page of Wands. Then we have Bilbo, how he reads the map, how to enter, how to find the secret door. And then we have Knight of Wands, again Bilbo, and I think that is interesting how he takes the same person again. So this represents as well how we have on our journey, how we invoke the different energy of the court cards. I really do like that. I was thinking, you know, taking the same person for the court cards, but while I was thinking about it, I really thought, no, it's actually a nice idea to do that. Then we have the Queen of Wands, a woman of Laketown. Yeah. Then King of Wands, the Lord of the Eagles. And then we go already into the Cups. So this beautiful chalice, encrusted with gems, bears a runic inscription meaning Thorin Oaken. The 7 stars shining down illuminate a sense of peace, serenity, and sublime tranquility. Then we have the 2 of Cups with Bilbo and Gandalf. And for the movie, that's great. Good morning. What do you mean? And I cannot repeat it. And here for the divinatory meaning, a new relationship starting or a new stage in an existing relationship moving towards another, sexual attraction, reconciliation, a bond being formed. In a spread, this card reveals a magnetic pull between 2 people, even a marriage or at least a marriage of minds. It is a good time to join together. Then we have the 3 of Cups. So here in the midst of the woods, the companions take the weight of their feet and try to relax. Around them, but out of sight, are the sounds of the forest creatures coming to life. Next on the agenda is a nice fire around which our friends will share their food and stories. Okay. Then we have the 4 of Cups with Gandalf and a moment of reflection, calmly filling his pipe by the side of water. And for the divinatory meaning, it says reach out for friendship, for new friendships, withdrawing from others, feelings of dejection. This card tells you that you are taking things too personally and that you are becoming too stuck, unable to see the new people and opportunities being suggested by life. Again, that's, you know, if Gandalf reflects here, sitting there, I don't think that is a character trait of Gandalf, but, you know. And then we have the 5 of Cups with Bilbo following the dwarves to the dungeons after they were kept by the elves. Then the 6 of Cups with Gollum. Again, this, for me personally, that doesn't fit at all, but that's alright. Then we have the 7 of Cups, where he finds the Arkenstone. The 8 of Cups, with the eagles. The 9 of Cups, where they are at Elrond's house, Rivendell. That's a nice one. and 10 of Cups. And again, I don't know, well, the elven guard stands on watchful alert at the edge of the forest Mirkwood. It was a guard such as this that captured Thorin Oakenshield and each of the dwarves, when they later ventured too close to the elven kingdom. Unseen, Bilbo has slipped on the One Ring and has reverted to his invisible state. Thus he makes his way past this guard into the palace, looking for a way out for himself and his friends. Yeah, okay. Like this could make sense. Then we have the Page of Cups with Elrond, the Knight of Cups. I wouldn't see, I wouldn't see Elrond as Page of Cups, but alright. Then we have the Knight of Cups with Balin, the Queen of Cups, where it just says a woman. Okay, no, now it states it's Goldberry and Tom Bombadil. And then we have the King of Cups with Bilbo again. And here it says, Bilbo stands outside his home on his own land, deep in thought. Between the two trees, half hidden, we see Bag End. Bilbo has come full circle back to where his story started. And then let's move on to the last suit, the coins. Ace of Coins. And it says, here we see the family heirloom of Durin's line, the marvelous, brilliant, white, shining gem sought by Thorin Oakenshield. It was called the Heart of the Mountain. Originally found by Thorin's ancestor Thrain, the old and shaped by the dwarves. It was lost when the dragon Smaug captured the mountain from them. The Arkenstone shines of its own inner light, but this light reflects everything else off from around it. And so on. So for the divinatory meaning, new doorways are opening professionally. Your efforts will be rewarded with prosperity. This card says yes to the principle of going out there and sowing the seeds of new endeavors. Then we have the Two of Coins, where the dwarves arrives at Bag End. The Three of Coins, with the 3 trolls. And then it says in the divinatory meaning, learning new skills and abilities, professional growth, establishing oneself and becoming more aware of one's abilities. Yeah, this is where Bilbo starts to confuse them. And then we have the Four of Coins, and we see how the dwarves are running through the treasures. The gathering of coins together, thinking that only what you believe has any relevance, resisting change. When this card surfaces in a reading, it can show money-mindedness, sometimes to the point of blotting out everything else. With this can come a tendency to try and control other people or being a penny pincher. Then we have the Five of Coins, where the dwarves are in Mirkwood. This card can show feelings of unworthiness or a sense that something is missing from one's life, that one is lonely and in need of love from someone. Then the Six of Coins, and again the dwarves and Bilbo are going through the treasure. Then we have the Seven of Coins with Bilbo, the Eight of Coins. Okay, this is again in Mirkwood, where they try not to step into or touch the water. And here it says, we are reminded of the significance of water in scripture and legends, the crossing of the Red Sea, immersion in water, baptism and initiation. But here the water is dark and we are warned not to drink from it. At a later stage, the dwarves cross the river using a boat and Bomber falls in. Yeah. Then the Nine of Coins, where Bilbo decides to take the Arkenstone over to Bard. And then the 10 of Coins, again in the dragon lair. The Page of Coins by Beorn the Skin Changer. Interesting. The Knight of Coins with Bard of Lake Town. and where he prepares to fire his black arrow. The Queen of Coins. Again, the Lady of Lake Town represents all the mothers, sisters, daughters and beloved of those in Esgaroth. A woman who wants to develop the work side of her life, nurturing and warm-heartedness, a person with a sincere desire to help people, who generally loves animals and children, and so on. And then we go to the last card, King of Coins. Sorry about that. Dane II Ironfoot is who we find here, seated upon his thrones. Above him, inscribed in runic lettering, are the words, High Lord Dane, son of Nain, Misty M.O. Although the final letters remain unseen, we discern mountains. A man or woman at the top of their trade of profession, a business leader, an enterprising person. The energy of this card can indicate a person in or coming into your life. It shows you that you could be in a successful phase of action, and so on. So those are all the cards, and as I mentioned before, I don't think it's really a beginner deck. I think you need a good understanding of tarot in general to make those connections, and also you have to, I would say, you need to understand the story. So reading the book is definitely not wrong, because there are changes in the movie. And as always, I would like to try out a spread. I'm gonna have a look which one. Just a very short, quick sample reading, nothing in depth. Just to keep it as short as possible. I know my reviews take a bit longer, but that's how it is. Okay, so this is the Ring of Gollum spread. So it actually is in a circle. Let me just try to show you that. But I do it like this, and I will bring the cards closer and very, very briefly, okay? Okay, the first card is about the basic personality. And I took now Bilbo. Basic personality of Bilbo. And then we have the Six of Coins. And I really like that, because he is somebody who likes to share, but he really is a bit picky about with whom he shares. If he likes to, like for example later on with Frodo, he's very generous. Then the next card, we have number 2 with possessions, and there we have the 9 of Cups. And I do like that for his possessions, as here, for example, in the guidebook, it says experiencing life as a celebration, wishes being granted, dreams coming true. And what I really like is wishings being granted, and that his possessions are at this point, before he has more possessions later, you know, but his possession is really being the luck bearer. He's well known as that, so I do like that idea. Then we have the card number 3, communication, and then we have the Knight of Coins. And as we know, I don't know if Bard is really the best representation of the Knight of Coins, but however, I see it, the Knight is the slowest of them all. The Knight of Coins is the slowest of all the Knights, and so his communication may not be the quickest, and he thinks about it more, but he is also somebody, when he does, he's very committed. Then the next card, domestic life, and there we have the Queen of Cups. Oh, that's interesting. That's something I wouldn't really see, because it's mostly that it's a very loving person and giving, but I don't see Bilbo necessarily like that. I would see him a bit more in the reverse state of that this energy is a bit blocked, that he's missing maybe that female energy, as we know that Bilbo is always, he just is a single person. He has no heirs later on, so he gives everything to Frodo later. yeah, we'll take it more as a reversed meaning. Let's see the other cards. So card number 5 would be about love life, and then we have the 9 of coins, and often we see the 9 of coins as an independent person who is alone, and that's what Bilbo is, as I mentioned before. And it's also, it can indicate, here it says this card indicates heightened self-reliance and self-worth. Then the next card, work life, and then we have 2 of Wands. And the guidebook here suggests good advice given and received, having the world in your hands, proving your point to others. When this card comes up, it is being shown that you have a lot to contribute and that your influence is being felt. And this is the case, you know, when he is engaged as the burglar. This makes absolutely sense. Then the next card, we have partnerships with 7, and there we have the 8 of Cups. And through many times, as we know, the 8 of Cups is like leaving something behind, or even looking for something higher. And this is, you know, in his partnership, in his work partnership with Thorin Oakenshield, for example, he's not only looking for this to see him just as a partner, but he also wants to have that deep friendship. That's what he keeps saying at some point, you know. Thorin Oakenshield was not only it's not only the king of the dwarves, he's so much more to me. And he really wants to get away from that, where Thorin and Bilbo doesn't get along that much, you know. So that's that. And number 8, changes, and then we have Page of Coins, the skin changer. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? So yeah, and we know that the pages are, you know, about something new, so taking on new responsibilities, setting the wheels in motion, desiring a promotion, and looking for a new opportunity. This is really, so that's what he's doing, because at the end he decides to go on the adventure. This is about, card number 9 is about travel and learning. And there we have the 3 of Wands. And this is really interesting, as it says in the guidebook, leading others by example, following up new opportunities and meeting new challenges. So this is definitely true, because he at some point takes over, and he is the one who enters the dragon lair, as we can see here as well. So this is really where he becomes some kind of a leader for the companionship. Then card number 10, achievements, with 10 of coins. That is really interesting, because as he comes back to Bag End later on, so his achievement, he has then he brought back a chest of gold and a treasure, and he finds then that fulfillment in Bag End until one point, because then he wants to see mountains again. It's one of my hashtags on Instagram a lot. I want to see mountains again, Gandalf. And then, sorry, I tried to really keep this short. We could go on, but it's too much. Then we have card number 11, social life, and then we have 4 of Swords. And I think that is interesting, because in my opinion, he gets exhausted very quickly by social life, by having all you know, he's picky about with whom he wants to interact. And so he needs a break and rest again and again. But if he likes you, he is really loyal. You know, it also depends about what you think now. The Hobbit story, the Lord of the Rings, I slip into the Lord of the Rings as well. He has sometimes a tension with, like, Belladonna Took and so on. So my battery dies. then the last question with inner life, and there we have the Two of Swords, and I think that is quite interesting because he's so torn in between different options of being, you know, being out on an adventure, but he also loves to be at home, and this is the constant struggle he is in later on as well. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Much love and blessings, and bye bye.